Today is Wednesday, July 27th, 2016. We're here at the Woodridge Public Library with Bud Yezek, and interviewers are Tim Cruz, Jacob Guzman, Henrietta, Eghan, and Beth Van Opdorp, librarian. Bud has lived in Woodridge for over 40 years. He's worked for General Motors, the telephone company. He's been a bus driver. He was in the Navy. And photography is one of his hobbies. Okay.
So tell us about where you were born and your family.
Okay. Northern Minnesota, way up there, so about 100 miles north of Minneapolis. Lived through the Depression. Dad had a farm, which he lost. I spent about 6 years in a country school, 10, 15 kids in one schoolroom. I'd say about when I was 17, was in the middle of World War II, and I wasn't in anything that would defer me, so that they were looking for me so I went to the Navy instead. Spent 8 years in the Navy, got a high school equivalency diploma through that. Spent part of that time, I was a backseat gunner on the Helldivers. Once in a while I'd luck out and get a torpedo bomber.
Those are ships?
No, the air bombers, airplanes.
Oh.
The Helldivers were vertical divers.
Oh.
And the TBMs, torpedo bombers, were low and slow. Enemy loved us. They just blow us out of the water.
Wow.
And that's about it on the rough stuff.
Okay. How about, was your father an immigrant?
No.
Do you know who the first immigrant were?
Dad's mother was from Bohemia. Granddad was the first white boy born in Worth County, Iowa. Some little girl beat him out of being the first one, and he resented that for all his life. That's about it. So there's no... mother's side, they didn't have much to do with us. They were all Germans, but I don't know if they came from Germany or if they were native born.
What was the first one? And what county was it that...
Worth County.
Where's that?
It's up the north end, about halfway across Iowa.
Oh,
And,
okay.
I understand that things were pretty tough around there. They ate boiled grass and anything else they could get to eat.
Jeez.
And did you celebrate any sort of traditions or holidays?
No, not really. We didn't do much celebrating.
Times were too difficult.
Yeah, like I say, Dad had a farm for part of the time. I can just barely remember it. And then I remember one time I got whipped 13 times in one day for running away.
Oh,
I can just barely remember that.
So you were old enough to run away.
I was old enough. I had a collie dog, and I'd follow that dog any place, I guess. And Dad said 13 times one day he had to walk me.
Wow.
So what did your father do after losing the farm? Like, what did he do for work?
Okay, he was lucky he found a job with the WPA, and that tided us over. Mother died right in the middle of that, and So he raised us. And then as I got a little older, where I can remember stuff, he had picked up carpentry work. So he was doing carpentry and painting and anything to make ends meet. And as soon as I could do anything, he put me to work. So
Kind of seems you had a busy childhood. Did you have any toys or like enduring memories as a child that you?
toys, we pretty much made our own stuff, like little wagons and whatnot. I don't. Yeah, I guess I did. I had a store-bought wagon. I remember that. I have no idea where. For something to push around or something like that, they handed you a cultivator and let you cultivate in the garden.
You called it a cultivator?
Yeah, it had wheels on it. You
Okay.
just push it along.
Is it like a tiller?
Yeah, except you did the work.
Oh,
No,
okay.
there was no engines.
Okay.
So did your family stay in one place or move around during your time?
Pretty much. I was a real hillbilly up until the Navy, and Dad and I would go out from central Minnesota. We'd go out around central Dakotas and work the harvest out there. But that was there was no vacations or anything like that. And,
Were you the oldest or the youngest?
I was the oldest.
Okay.
I got two sisters.
Okay.
And,
So where did they go when you and your dad went to harvest in the Dakotas?
they would stay with grandparents,
Okay.
and that was Dad's parents. And then, of course, Dorothy was the oldest. She got a job in town as a waitress. It was a little town with one restaurant. She worked there. Joan, the younger one, she was the only one for a long time that ever finished high school until I bumped her when I got mine. And, they're still, both of them up there. One is, well, they're both in central Minnesota up there.
Oh.
One on the farm, one in town.
Uh-huh.
I'm going up a couple of weeks to see them.
So you still get together?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
We're real
Okay.
tight. Dorothy, pretty much, she was, like I say, small. She took over Mother's place, and here she is just.
And where did you go to school?
Like I say, a country school, one room. I'd say there was probably 10, 15 of us kids, all grades, one teacher,
All in the same room?
all the same room.
Did you have desks?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you had desks.
We had to carry wood in to keep us warm.
Oh, you had
and
fireplace?
water.
Uh-huh.
Toilets were outside. The older kids helped with the younger kids, so they substituted.
Did you have school when you had a big snowfall? Or
If we could walk there, we had school.
okay.
Teacher lived close to the school, so she could get there. And
Okay.
So I'm
I
guessing.
don't remember ever getting caught in a snowstorm.
Oh.
I mean, you probably have knee-deep snow. That went on, I'd say, maybe one season. And then Dad got it to school board, and they started sending a bus down for us then. And
Oh.
So were there any extracurricular activities, or was it just school, then go back home, and then work?
that's pretty much, if we was big enough that we could contribute to a living, they put us to work.
Okay.
So, was there a teacher or a other adult that influenced your life?
Yeah, I would imagine, yeah. You can. When the heck am I going? You pretty much looked up to everybody. I've never heard of, I suppose it happened, but I never heard of a kid being hurt or anything, sexual abuse. That never happened. It might have happened, but we never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so everybody was sort of somebody that, and everybody was kind of kept an eye on you, so you behaved yourself, because if you didn't, Dad would hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a small town, so everyone knew everyone, huh?
That's it. Yeah.
Well, was there a church out?
Yeah, that was about 8 miles away. And then that was our church. There was Protestant churches about 3 or 4 miles away.
Uh-huh.
And then when I started high school, I ended up a week in high school. I was riding 100 miles every day to get to high school, and I lived 3 miles away from it.
What? Because of the bus?
Right. I was the first one on that bus in the morning and the last one off at night.
Oh my gosh. One of the original commuters.
Yep.
Oh dear.
So about a week of that, and I said, I don't want this.
Oh, wow.
And what was a typical day at high school like compared to country school?
Well, yeah, that's probably why I quit, because it was way different. And when I signed into the high school, there was no, you have to do this or you have to do that. I was hanging in a limbo there. Didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody said this or that. So it just wasn't for me.
Did you change classes there, like is typical in our schools now?
You had a home room and one thing, but that was in town.
It sounds like you were kind of on your own there.
Pretty much, yes. Nobody really explained what was required or anything. Here's books. That's it. And just
Were they big classes there?
yeah, normal, 15 or 20 kids in each class, and
Did they have sports teams?
partly there was baseball, little football, nothing like here. You just played against other kids in the school, not against other schools. Now it is up to, they have a basketball team that travels around, but that's about it.
Were there any fine arts like music and art and?
I had no music whatsoever. My wife was an artist. That really gets me.
So the Navy, how did you feel about enlisting, or were you drafted? Or?
I don't know. I enlisted to keep out of the Army. And,
Okay.
I went in with the idea I was going to put in 20 years.
Oh.
And so I got in on the tail end of World War II in Korea. And that's when the politicians took over and said, well, you fight here or fight there. And I said, we've got guys that are trained to fighting and they're telling them how to fight? No.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out. And
I didn't know that Navy personnel flew.
oh, yes. They're
So,
big aircraft carriers.
so those, so the planes took off from the aircraft carrier. Oh,
They
okay,
landed
that's the
on them too,
connection.
and that was a harassing thing.
Yeah.
You're coming around there and 1,000 feet is pretty long space.
Uh-huh.
But if you're coming in at 100 miles an hour, it gets awful small.
Uh-huh. And what was, you were the bomber or
I was a gunner.
a gunner? So you didn't fly the plane?
No.
You just dropped?
I fly planes, or did, but it's a private sports thing rather than.
Oh, not during the war?
No.
Okay.
No.
So where were you dropping bombs and torpedoes? Was that in Europe?
Luckily, I didn't go to war until Korea. So
Oh.
all I did is practice bombs
And where did that happen?
off the coast of California.
Oh, okay.
There's an island out there that we bombed the heck out of.
Okay.
And we also, if you miss the island, you bomb the Pacific Ocean.
Uh-huh.
That brings up a lot of pieces of fish, which brings sharks. And them hell divers, you have a habit of you got to jump out of them every once in a while. The wings come off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and you're thinking, I don't know if I want to jump here or not with those sharks down
It
there.
improved your aim then, huh?
Yes, you improved greatly.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So did you have to jump out?
No, I never.
Ever?
One time I come close to it, but I never did.
And so the wings were falling off. Oh my gosh. Wow.
These are rather heavy aircraft,
Yeah.
and you're falling straight down, so there's a strain on those wings when you're pulling out.
Okay.
Just, you pull 7 or 8 Gs
Uh-huh.
every time. And the comical part, I guess comical, my guns were 30 caliber, which nowadays that's kind of small for shooting deer.
Uh-huh.
And the Japanese could outshoot us. We were sitting there with these little BB guns trying to hold them off. And so I'm glad I didn't get out there where they'd shoot at me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Is there any specific stories you remember, whether it is like a war story or like just like hanging out with your Navy buddies? Like any story, specific story you remember stuck with you?
There was a lot of them. There's one I remember off the coast of Korea. Our boss volunteered us to go over and blow up a bridge over in Korea. We have no idea, no training for blowing up things. At the time, I was assembling bombs, which is you put a tail on a bomb and screw a nut on. You don't. So we told him, well, if you lead us, we'll go. And he lost interest right there. So.
So the bridge is still standing?
Unless they blew it up with an airplane, I don't know.
Oh, gee.
But we dropped in Korea. Our one carrier, there's 3 carriers and an Air Force. Our one carrier dropped 300 tons of bombs every 3 days.
Wow.
We replenished every 3rd day. Now that place should have been blown flat.
Yeah. And it wasn't.
Nothing.
Oh dear.
So what did being in the Navy teach you?
Never volunteer. Well, actually, I got education-wise, I would say nothing that would do me any good in civilian life, except that how to do things. Maybe somebody gives you a job, you do it right instead of screwing it up. That'd be about all I ever learned there, and finish it up.
What about polishing your shoes?
The
Not
Navy
so much?
wasn't that. Even shore duty, I pulled duty at North Island in San Diego. And usually shore duty, you're a lot of polish and haircuts and inspections. And we didn't have that much of it. And there's more. If you kept your planes flying, that was about
That's
it.
an important thing.
Yeah.
Did you have any sort of forms of entertainment while you were in the Navy, just to pass the time?
Not from the Navy, no. You had a lot of liberty. You could go ashore, and like San Diego's got a world famous zoo there, and stuff like that. And
Was it easy to make friends, or did everyone keep to themselves?
no, you pretty well a lot of friends, and you train? No, train isn't the word I want. But it was a matter, even like in Korea with I had a bomb crew that made up the bombs. There was 8 or 10 of us in the crew, and we all worked to help one another. You work together. Actually, I don't think you was ever alone in the Navy. Mainly. That was.
Was there like a particular friend possibly that stood out to you?
You had extra friends, and I had the one guy. He wasn't even in ordnance, which is what I was. He was a mechanic, aircraft mechanic. He was like a brother to me, and they kind of, him and his wife took me in, and we hung out together, and but it's like brothers and sisters. And,
So you got out of the Navy, and you were in California when you got out, or?
where did I get it? Yeah, I was just discharged in California. Went back to Minnesota.
Oh.
Bought a truck. Well, I went to work at a creamery. I worked for a butter maker making butter. And he talked me into buying one of the trucks and going out and collecting cream and bringing it in. And I went broke at that.
Oh.
So I got rid of the truck. And then I came over here and went to work for that telephone company. It was on the corner of, it was over in Cicero. Bell Telephones, making telephones.
You knew the job was here, that's why you came?
No.
Or you came first and then?
By the time I went broke, jobs were getting a little hard to find in civilian life. And I'd always heard if you couldn't find a job in Chicago, you was pretty bad shape.
Oh.
So I had the first job I applied for was that telephone thing, and I got it just like that.
Oh,
so
good.
it was jobs were
kinda true.
good here, yeah. And I worked the winter. I got that job in the fall. I worked through the winter, and I couldn't stand it. I was an outside guy, and I couldn't stand that being inside a factory.
Oh.
So I got a job as a bus driver for, what the heck was it, Blue? Or it doesn't matter anyway. Passenger.
CTA like? Or?
Yeah, but it was suburban. It was
Oh.
from Chicago to Aurora, Chicago to Joliet.
Okay.
Bluebirds. That
Oh.
was the name of them.
Okay.
And I drove for them for a while. And then what else? Can't remember. Oh yeah, then they transferred me to a car wash. Bluebird set up a car wash. See? So I was foreman in the car wash for a while. And where'd I go from there? Yeah, I was working there when I got married. Can't remember where I went from there. I've been a laundryman. I'm a poor salesman. So eventually, a friend I'd met somewhere down the line, he says, "Hey, General Motors is hiring that electromotive out there." So we went on, both of us, and we got work there, and so I stayed there then. And
Where's that location?
it was in McCook. It's not there no more. They moved to Canada. But, there was a big factory there at McCook.
Okay.
And,
So you weren't living in Woodridge yet when you worked there?
no, there I lived in McCook, right? And we'd bought a trailer. We're living in a trailer. And then Debbie, I guess my daughter, come along. I remember we had Dave. Yeah, we were still in the trailer when Dave was born. And so, well, it's getting crowded, so we bought the house in Woodridge and moved out here.
Oh, okay.
And,
So what brought you to Woodridge? You wanted a house.
Yeah, and this seemed to be a better type. I mean, some of the housing at that time was pretty scrubby, and it looked like Woodridge was a better place to live in, and so we came
Okay.
out here.
So what was it like when you actually moved here?
Yeah,
Gravel roads?
yeah. 75th Street was a 2-lane road. There was none of this area here. The library was a house on 75th Street up there.
Was the Jewel here yet?
No,
No Jewel.
there was a big sign, Jewel or no somebody's groceries coming or something like that. And it finally fell down, and we still didn't have a house or a grocery. Where the heck did we go for groceries? A while, I guess. I don't even remember that. That was my wife's job. I was grabbing all the overtime I could get building locomotives. I didn't worry about it.
Oh, building
Yeah,
locomotives.
that
Oh.
was General Motors.
Oh, that's what you did there. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, when I first started there, I was cutting wires to make these electrical harnesses for the locomotives. And at the same time, I'm going to, can't think of their name now, it's a school, a pretty good one too, that teaches electronics.
DeVry?
Right, that's the one.
Okay.
And I graduated from DeVry on electronics,
Oh.
and so I got a jump in electromotive and went to wiring the locomotive instead of making it. And I spent 20-some years there, and it was a good job.
Do you remember any stories from that job?
If I could think of them. I can tell you about rats. They were bigger than dogs.
Oh, really?
Just,
So where did you keep your lunch then?
mine myself, I kept it in my tool locker, which had a screen door on it so they couldn't get into it. And I remember one guy saying it wasn't too bad until the rats started throwing our lunch over their shoulders and making
dear.
Uh,
Was it always like that, or did it improve?
That's pretty much. Now, your actual manufacturing was like in a warehouse. You had a warehouse of parts all around you. So those rats were in that warehouse, and they never really bothered us. They didn't come out where we were, and I stayed with that for most of the 20 years. I ended up, I was troubleshooting. If there was a normal day, I'd be wiring, sirens or whatever they needed on the extra stuff that they wanted on them. If I was troubled, I'd be running over to wherever the trouble was and straightening it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it, I guess.
So how was your home life? Did you leave your doors open, windows?
Yeah. It was safe to not lock your door. It's kind of now, I don't know.
You lock your door now?
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, I'm pretty sure the door's locked right now,
Yeah.
I think. My wife is at home with her daughter.
Right.
So you knew the neighbors pretty well?
Yeah. I've got some of the best darn neighbors you can imagine. Just,
Well, were they original
No.
owners too? No.
No.
Okay.
both sides of me, one of them, it's a Mexican family. They're about the hardest working people I've ever seen yet. He was going to college and holding down 2 jobs. And I don't know where he is now.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, the guy works for the village of Downers Grove.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're great.
Good people to have for neighbors.
They're the best.
Uh-huh.
So do you recall having any get-togethers or going to big events like the Jubilee, similar to the Jubilee?
Me personally, no. I suppose that's hangover from my youth, probably, because we didn't have anything then, and I just don't see it now. I'm just I'm pretty old and dried out.
How about like political movements or social movements? Do you remember any of that occurring in Woodridge?
I never. I've voted, of course, but I've never really taken an interest in any but I'm against Trump now. I'll tell you that right out.
It's on the record.
You're right.
I think you're in good company.
Well, that is Adolf Hitler all over again.
So how did your children's childhood differ from yours?
Well, take my daughter. She graduated from high school, got a year of college, married a Presbyterian minister. They've got a house up on the mountaintop in Cody, Wyoming. She's working for the city, I guess. City or state, I forget which it is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pastor of a church there in Cody. My oldest son is a postman over here in Addison. My youngest one passed away in '02 from cancer. So that's about it. I've got great-grandsons.
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 Really? Good for you.
My grandsons are grown-up young men.
Yeah.
Two of them are teachers. I think the third one is aiming to be a teacher, but he's working. He took electronics in the Navy, so now he is working for the hospital in Cody, something to do with computers. I don't know what the heck he's doing, but
so he followed in his grandfather's footsteps
Right.
into the Navy. You didn't exert any influence, huh?
No, I didn't really. I was pretty happy to see him.
Yeah.
I went through Boots up here at the Great Lakes. That's where he got sent for Boots. And,
Okay. Boots is boot camp?
Boot camp, right?
Okay.
Basic training.
Uh-huh.
And, he spent, I guess it was 4 years on a destroyer escort off of California chasing drug dealers
Really?
all the way from Mexico to Alaska. He says.
Uh-huh. Are they still bombing that island?
Training, yeah.
They are?
Yeah, they're still there.
And are the missus still bringing the sharks?
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah. But his planes probably didn't, were more
I
sturdy.
don't think they have gunners or anything. Most of those carrier planes now are just one, sometimes two. But there'll be two officers.
Uh-huh.
They don't carry enlisted guys anymore.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So do you remember anything about like the library being built or being developed?
Yeah. Here in Woodridge, it was right on 75th Street and Woodridge Drive, right on that corner there. There was a house there. And what the heck? Can't think of her name now.
Lori Kagan.
That's the lady.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
it was, I guess, mostly books that they'd picked up, probably that people donated or something. And let's see, it went from there. I wasn't too much, at that time, I was kind of scrabbling to make money around here, but so I didn't get in the library much. I never went to the library really until I got married to Mary.
To Mary. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my second wife, and she was involved with art and whatnot, and that was in here, so she got me in. And hey, gee, they got things in there. Just,
Did you ever see or experience discrimination or racial tension or differences?
Yeah. In the Navy, when I went in, colored people were servants, actually. They weren't called that, but that's what they were. In fact, they were stewards aboard ship mostly.
Stewards is what?
Waiters,
gophers?
waiters, actually.
Waiters.
Yeah, for the officers.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I really had anything to do with a colored person, well, even Filipinos or any of them. Pretty much. Yeah, about the end of the war, they finally said, all right, you got to integrate. And the problem was there. At that time, anybody that got in trouble, they had a choice. You can go to the military or you go to jail. Well, they come to the military, and you couldn't do anything with them. They didn't want to do anything. So we had, the bad part of the colored people that we were getting. But then I think I'm hopeful now, by now, that And it seems like everybody's,
I don't think they accept the criminal types anymore.
I'm hoping
Lately.
not, because that was
Yeah.
bad deal all the way around. And, they didn't gain anything, and we didn't gain anything on it.
And what about after that in Woodridge or Cicero or?
No. Yeah. Okay, by the time we moved out, I was working for General Motors then, and there we was working blacks, whites, coloreds. It was just, you never stopped to think that's a black or he's white or he's green. And if you did your job, that was it.
So people got along pretty well at General Motors.
Yeah. What the heck was it? Well, we had that big blow up when King was murdered, and that was about. I remember one time, this was in the 40s, when I first got in the Navy. I was sent to Jacksonville, Florida for schooling. Before I got there, they'd had a riot, and they took machine guns mounted in turrets on trucks, and they went over in Jacksonville. This is whites with these guns, and they put down the black riot.
Was that the police doing that, or National
The
Guard? Or?
the police, the National Guard, right, and they volunteered the Navy to come over and help. And,
So you saw that? Or that
no,
was
I
before
heard
you got
about
there?
it because this was before I got there, just
Okay.
a couple months.
And was the feeling that that was wrong?
At that time, no. They thought that was the way you were supposed to do it. Nowadays, they say, no, the way. Actually, by the time I got out of the Navy, they pretty well accepted the fact that blacks and whites could live together.
How about Vietnam? Do you recall anything about that?
I was out of the Navy by then, so
Like hearing about it?
yeah, that. I think we shouldn't have put our nose in there in the first place, is my feeling on it. And that was one thing that Korea, that 100 tons of bombs, 300 tons, whatever, was not dropped on the people that caused the war. It was dropped on some poor little peon out there with a straw hut, maybe, had no idea what was happening, and so that was kind of why I got out. I said, that's enough of that. And to this day, I'd like to send politicians to war.
Yeah, your feeling is, what is your feeling about war?
I'm against it.
Okay.
I think if we could get rid of the politicians, we'd probably live long and happy together.
So did technology impact you in your life? You worked with wires and fixing computers and all that.
Putting locomotives together. The best, well, that was a good job. But then I retired from there, got tired of sitting around, so I got that bus driving job. And the best time of my life was when that bunch of kids in that bus, they kept you in the gear all the time.
Really? How, all ages, or?
Yeah, I had sometimes, my biggest problems were junior high. Yeah. But they were all great.
And was that in Woodridge?
Yeah.
Okay.
All for the Woodridge schools, for the Downers Grove schools.
Okay.
Do you remember any specific kids?
Yeah. Little, I'd say probably my second graders over in Lyle. And the first kids in the morning was about 4 little girls. And I pick them up. And I'm going down the street one morning, I look at the mirror, and all I see is feet sticking up. He goes, "Hey, ladies don't sit like that. We're not ladies." And that's the kind of things you remember.
Yeah. Oh. Did you ever have to throw anybody off the bus? I guess you wouldn't. You wouldn't be allowed to do that, or would you?
I found out you weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah. After the fact.
Yes.
Oh.
I had a kid over in Lyle Jr. and he was a attention deficit.
Mm.
That's what they said. He was pulling it. And he and I tangled a couple times, and then one time I threw him off the bus. Then I found out I wasn't allowed to do it. It ends up to this day, if he catches me in Lyle, "Hi, Mr. Yezek, we're friends."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But, he was, I was probably the only person that ever told him no. And I made it stick, and he liked that.
Oh, that's nice. Huh. Yeah.
So how did you deal with like technology, like computers and calculators? But like back in your time, there weren't any calculators or like computers or
I hate those things.
those
All of them.
things.
So you don't have an email account?
No.
No.
The only thing I'll do on computers is solitaire.
Oh, really? Okay.
I cannot get along with those things.
Yeah.
That is one. I'll not fly on an airplane nowadays either,
Oh, because.
because they're completely controlled by a computer. That pilot doesn't have anything that he can do if that computer screws up.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get on that thing because it's going to go sooner or later. And
You're not going to be there.
I'm not going to be on it.
Yeah.
I might be under it, but I won't be in it.
So how would you say Woodridge has changed?
Got bigger, more modern. I don't know as I'd say it got, yeah, maybe it got better. But it was pretty good all the time, so. I don't know. I guess just got bigger mostly. And, we've been, I'd say, pretty lucky with our mayors, and we had Bill for a long time. That he was a great mayor.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know about. I only know one lady from the city board or whatever you call them, and I don't know her that well. But apparently we got a pretty good bunch of them.
Well, you guys got anything else?
So do you have a particular time or event that has shaped your life?
I would suppose the Depression. That'd probably be I learned to work and work hard. That'd probably be the only thing that really shaped it.
work and work hard. And anything else you took from that?
No. I can remember in the Depression, Dad decided he had to sell a cow to make ends meet. And we took that cow to town, walked in the wintertime, plowed snow to get there. And when we got there, they wouldn't buy the cow. No, there was no money.
Oh, not only did you not have, but other people didn't have money to buy the cow.
Right. There was nobody felt better than anybody else because we were all broke.
Mm-hmm. So then what did you do? Did you butcher the cow?
Butchered her out.
You did.
And we did a lot of shooting pheasants and catching fish without licenses. And, game wardens kind of, well, they knew the people and they'd turn their back and kind of let you go along with it.
Were you hungry? Do you remember being
I don't
hungry?
ever remember being hungry. There was always something that Mom would come up with. We had chickens, so there was always, for breakfast, there'd be a big bowl of boiled eggs or something, scrambled eggs or something, and so there was always food. And, after Mom died and Dad lost the place, things got pretty bad. We spent one winter, we lived on macaroni and bacon powder biscuits, but we had enough to keep our bellies full. And,
How did that affect your father? Was he bitter?
No, he wasn't bitter, but I think it ruined his health. And he died in his 60s, I guess it was. And, because he took the whole load, and that was a guy that I really admired. Hang on there, and three little kids. And
Do you recall when the Depression got better for your family?
yeah, when the war broke out in Europe, things started picking up then, and money started being made.
Anything else? Was there anything you thought about that you might want to tell us when you were thinking about coming in for this interview that we didn't ask about?
No, not really. Like Mary says, tell them about the country school, but that was about it.
Yeah, that's a novelty.
Her granddaughters were, you went to a country school?
Yeah.
There's all 8 grades. You had to play together to get a baseball team or anything. And,
Is that a good memory? Are you fond of those times?
I liked the idea that I went there. I know I didn't get an education that I should have, but I seem to be okay. You know.
Okay, well, I think we covered a lot, Bud, and we really appreciate you coming in and
Thank you so much.
enjoyed your stories and enlightenment.
Tell them about them, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah.